Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Surviving Presec. There is a certain statement that is used most of the times. Mostly, it is not really used when it is supposed to be used. But I'm going to use this statement today. I'm here with someone who is a preacher. He's a writer. He's involved in music. I mean, if you are to list all of these accolades, he's really someone you should look up to. He is one in a million. I have with me Reverend Dr. Samuel. If I mix anything up, you can correct me. Ebenezer Samuel Mama Makwe.
You have all the names, eh? You didn't miss anything.
I didn't miss anything. No. Okay. So, Reverend, a very simple question. The very first simple question. Who are you?
Well, first of all, I'm a normal human being. I eat, I laugh, I smile, and I cry too. So, but if you ask me, I'll just say I'm a very big product of grace.
Very big product.
Yeah. There are different ways in which you can define somebody. You can define somebody by his genetic code. So he's the son of this. He's the, you know. You can also define somebody by his environment. People get definitions because of the environment in which they've been brought up and all those things. So the environment shapes up their destinies, or their environment shapes up who they become. We're also a product of sometimes our circumstances. The things that we have been through molds us and shapes us. And above all, we are also a product of grace. So when you ask me who am I can tell you that, yes, my name is Reverend Dr. Samuel Ebenezer Mama Makwe, born to my parents. And but if you ask me, you talk about writing, you talk about music, you talk about different things, preaching and different things that you see me do. You are looking at somebody who has had a very massive intervention of grace.
Of grace.
And I'm talking about the grace of God. And I'm not trying to be humble or try to be there, but I do things that I'm amazed. I didn't do music. I didn't write music. But I'm writing songs and music. And there's a latest one that is coming. I don't speak Ewe or Ewe, but I've written an Ewe song. It's about to be released this year. I don't speak Chi, but I've written Chi songs. I don't speak Portuguese, but I go to Brazil and I lead worship in Portuguese.
I mean, you have one of your books translated to Portuguese.
Quite a number of them.
Quite a number of them.
I have Silver Stones.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Traveled, translated into Portuguese, it's Pedras Preciosas. And so, how can somebody, I didn't do literature. You know, apart from Form 1 to 3, I didn't take literature very seriously. Neither did I do history. But there are people who come to me for historical facts or historical data, even from my town and all those things. So when you see, if you look at me, ask me who I am, I'm a jack of all trade, but a master of none. But what you see is, you see somebody who has had a very massive intervention of God's grace upon his life. So let me start by saying, if you ask me who am I'm a product of grace.
Product of grace.
Yeah.
Reverend, you went to the university in Kumasi, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where you did chemistry.
Yeah.
And then later you went outside the country.
That's true.
Really looking at the trend with which your life and the path with which your life takes, I want to ask you a question. How did you meet your wife?
Well, interesting. My wife is going to be 60 on Saturday.
Okay.
You need to understand how God deals with people and how God deals with us. First of all, each and every one of us here needs to recognize that we are a purpose of God here on this earth.
Yeah.
You are a purpose. You are not a mistake. Long before, and God said it, long before you were born, He knew you even before you were in your mother's womb, according to Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And then He called you according to purpose. So God starts with purpose. So you are an idea. You are a seed of purpose in the mind of God. So the day your dad and mom met and whatever they did, I've touched you too, if you like touch me, whatever it is. They say over 6 million sperms are swimming in your mother's birth canal.
Just one.
And one of them wins it. So that means a probability. You are a probability of 1 over 6 million, and that tells you that you are non-existent. But what made you win? What made you come out? Is because God had His finger on that particular sperm.
Yes.
Because He has placed purpose on it. And one of the things that God does is when He calls you according to purpose, then He empowers that purpose. So you have put it in peace. Purpose, power. So God empowers that purpose. He empowers that purpose with talents that you are born with.
Yeah.
With gifts that He gives you, and with grace that He sets out for you. Your talents, you are born with it. Your gifts come to enhance your talent, and then the grace is what takes your gift beyond your four walls and takes you somewhere. Then God also brings you into pathways. And pathways is what you're talking about. I said, I went to Tech, I went to London, I went to all that. That's true. But there's one critical thing that God does, which is very important, and it's called partnership.
Partnership.
So God gives you partners, people who are going to work with you into your tomorrow. And so one of the things that you see, when God created Adam, God said it is not good for man to be alone. So let us make him a helpmate. And then He said, be fruitful and multiply. So your partner in life, your future wife or whoever it is, first of all, is your companion. So He said, it is not good for you to be alone.
So
let me finish, and then you can ask your question.
Okay.
So you're not supposed to be alone. So God gives you somebody who's your companion. Then 2 is a purpose. Let us make for him a helpmate. That is somebody who's going to help you achieve what God has laid out for you to achieve. And then the next stage is pleasure and multiplication. Be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
You cannot be fruitful without having pleasure. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Anyway, so how did I meet her? I met her at the University of Science and Technology. She was doing medicine, and I was doing chemistry. We were not even friends. We were not talking. We would just see each other, hi, and that's it. But sometimes we have some things we call divine accidents, or something God just moves the marble. You get it, like Jacob meets Rachel at the well, and then Eliza meets Rebecca at the watering troughs. So I got to know her through 1 or 2 friends, and we got talking, and then we became friends. So I'll go to the Bamboos to go and pray. That is a technical gardens to go and pray, and she's also there praying. So sometimes I would close late, and then sometimes she would also close late from prayer, which comes from the medical school lectures, and that place can be a little bit dangerous. So I would walk here, we'll talk, and we had a very interesting. We were friends, and then as time went on, we became much closer, without even thoughts of marriage. But for me, I just wanted a friend, somebody I could talk to. And at that time, there was a revival on campus, and I was one of the leaders of the revival. And I was carrying a lot. And that revival was sparked by Calvary Road. Calvary Road Incorporated, and I was the president at that time. I was carrying a lot. And then here comes a friend who I realized that certain people were interested in me because I was a prize. But she just showed an interest in me, not amorous, not marital, but she just showed an interest in me because I was a person. And so for the first time I found a friend I could talk to, I could relate to. Coming from Presec, even though I'd been to sixth form in a mixed school, you still have the weird Presec, get it, apogigi. We used to call it apogigi. You're not too sure of yourself in the presence of women. And so one of the things that she did was she began to teach, no, don't do this. You're too serious. You need to relax and all those other things. That's how I met her.
I know one thing, that you are the general overseer of living streams.
That's true.
And if I look at the way you answer your questions, there is a way you go about it. Because every single question you answer, you try to relate it with your grace being upon you, with the God factor. It has really played an important role in your life.
Yeah. It's very true. You need to understand that. Have you asked your question, by the way?
Yeah, I've asked my question.
So what did you want to ask?
I want to know how big of a role it has played in your life.
Right. Big what?
How big of a role the God factor has played in your life, if you have to rate it on a scale.
Everything I am now, I carry one thing called surprise. Yeah, I am surprised. I'm surprised at who I've turned out to be. And I must admit that sometimes I long to go back to my old ways. Here was I was a very quiet person, very shy. I was an outright melancholy. You won't hear me talk. You don't see me getting into trouble whilst I was in Presec. Never. I don't get into trouble. I stay away from trouble. A decent person, few friends, but very quiet. All my classmates say and my family, there are some members of my family who are amazed when they see me. Sometimes when they come to church and they see me preach, they open their jaws like, is that him?
Yeah.
What you need to understand, that's why I can say, you see, Samuel said something to Saul in 1 Samuel chapter 10. He said, and when the Spirit comes upon you, you will become another man. So what God does is that God He picks up people from the dunghills of life and transforms them. So it is relationship with Him that brought out my transformation. I never knew I could even preach. Preaching was not my forte. I would rather prepare sermons and give it to people and walk away. I mean, when I started in Calvary Road as a missionary director. So I'll go and prepare the crusade grounds, sometimes sweep, carry chairs and all those things, and then get the place ready for the preacher to come and preach, and then go and sit somewhere and pray. And so, but then one time I was asked to speak, and then, in fact, even when I gave my life to Christ, I was asked to speak at Presec SU. And then when I started speaking, things started happening. People were receiving a baptism of the Holy Ghost and all those things. And strange things were happening that was very confusing to me. And so I stopped. I was looking at the leaders at that time, and they said, carry on. And so all throughout, I mean, the God factor has been my primary. If you want to know Reverend Makwe or Reverend Dr. Makwe said, in the beginning, God. You get it?
Yeah.
In the beginning, God. So he's the author of Reverend Makwe's life, and I am believing and I'm trusting him that he'll be the Omega. Of my life when the time comes. And so the God factor has been a very incredible factor, a very powerful factor in my life, even when I wasn't born again. And you'll be very surprised that my father had a stable of records, I mean the disc, and you'll be surprised that I'll be playing things like Handel's Messiah, I'll be playing things like Johann Sebastian Bach and Jesus, Joy of Man's Desire. And then I'll be playing hymns, you know, and I used to take the hymnary of Presec. I wonder whether you still have that hymnary. It was a blue book, the Presbyterian Church hymnary.
Now it's bigger.
It's bigger?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a very big book with, I mean, even though the size was smaller, we all had one when you come to Form 1.
Yeah.
And I could sit throughout the day and begin to sing some of the songs I know. So, I mean, powerful songs. Now praise ye great and famous men. For my sake and the gospel go. Safe in the arms of Jesus. We are marching to Zion. Whosoever will. And what do we call it? Master speak. My servant here. And all those, some of those old songs. And then Who True Valor See by John Bunyan. And I just love the hymns, even when, so the God factor has been the underlying factor.
Have you faced any challenges in the course of your ministry?
Oh, plenty. If you want to know somebody with a very big, I won't call it, first you have bag, then you have barrel, then you have tank. You get it? So if you want to know, yes, I have tankers.
Wow.
Of challenges, yes, I have.
And you've overcome them all?
By His grace. Some of them I didn't even know how I was going to get out of. As for the challenges, I've had to challenges of misunderstanding, challenges of ingratitude, challenges of betrayal.
Wow.
And then challenges of disappointment, challenges of rejection.
Wow. Rejection.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah. Challenges of rejection, challenges of extreme persecution. And I'm not going to be accusatory in that, because I'm rather going to be redemptive. Those things, some of those challenges were as a result of ignorance. You know, sometimes people attack you or people do things because they are ignorant. You remember when Jesus on the cross, you see what he said? He said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. So yes, I've had multitudes of challenges. I've had near-death experiences. I've had myself sitting in a wheelchair, final year, I couldn't walk.
What happened?
I had a bout of an attack. I had a medical distance that paralyzed me from, I couldn't walk. So I had to leave school and come home. And I was in a wheelchair for a couple of months when I was in my final year. And then, I was then doing my thesis, my project work and my thesis. And I came home, and the doctors were pretty much pessimistic and said they didn't think that I could make it. And I remember going to police hospital one day, and then I met one of my young daughters in Calvary Road. And then she looked at me in the wheelchair and she said, Brother Marco, what are you doing in a wheelchair? This one, stop this thing, hurry up and get up. And that, when I came home, I was like, God, I can't take this anymore. I either walk today or that's it. You and I, our accounts are closed. The book is finished, finito. And I remember getting up to walk. I got up the first time, I fell. My mother rushed to this thing. I said she shouldn't touch me. It's just between God and I. And then I got up again. Second time I fell. By this time I was sweating and I was in extreme pain. And then a third time And she was crying and she wanted to, and I said, leave me alone. It's just God and I. So I went 6 rounds, and by the 6th time, I just wanted to throw in the towel because the pain,
It's too much.
my body was too much. But I got up the 7th time, and it was on the 7th time that my body started shaking and vibrating. And then I took a step, and I took another step, and voila, here we are.
Wow.
So, and I've had instances of also extreme rejection, betrayal, where you need to understand that somebody will by all means stab you in the back. Somebody will stab you in the back one way or the other. It's part of life. Right now, you're growing up, so you don't know about it, but yes, I've been stabbed in the back. I've had, I've eaten the bread of ingratitude, where people you lay down your life for, and in the end, they will do things that would, they don't remember what you did. So, yeah, as for challenges, plenty.
Wow.
But you see what the Bible said is that many are the afflictions of the righteous. It didn't say few. So he said many are the afflictions of the righteous, but God delivers them from him from them all. So yes, those challenges have become pedestals of testimony for me. So it has enriched my life. It has built my confidence in God. It has made me, I'm now fearless. I don't fear any human being. I don't fear any, because bring on your words, I'm ready. I just make sure that even if you push me down 7 times, make sure that you finish me for it, because if I get up,
Wow.
oh boy. So yeah. So you know the Bible says, rejoice not over me or my enemy, for if I fall 7 times, I shall rise again. So am I?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
But so far, we've not talked about your life in Presec.
Yeah, I thought that was coming first.
And that is something we really need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if your time was this time, do you think you still be the person you are if all the conditions you had then were not existent, and then the conditions now are the conditions that were there? All the systems now are all the systems you were in during your time.
Well, you need to understand that before coming to Presec, I had a very great influence by my parents. So first of all, I came to Presec with a code of conduct. My father is a 6'4", about 250 to 280 pounder. That's his weight. And when you see him, just one slap, one slap would make you forget your mother's name.
Wow.
You know. And so I was brought up under very strict discipline. I mean, my father will tell you that if you start secondary school and you ever get involved with girlfriend, boyfriend, you get a girl pregnant, you will stop school. And the money they will use to send you to school, they'll use it to look after your child.
Yeah.
And so, and my father would tell you, you can't smoke, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you know. So, you can't drink. And then, so for me, there were certain rules that was already imbibed in me before I got to Presec. So definitely, but then Presec was also very formative because it also taught me how to be independent, you know, from, you are not under parents anymore, but you are still under a code of conduct. So obeying rules was not a difficulty for me because we had certain rules at home already. So to your question, I'm a product of my home.
Of your home, yeah.
My upbringing. And so, yes, we had very bad boys and we had very terrible guys in Presec at that time. I mean, notorious guys.
Yeah.
You get it, who some of them were running away to town and doing all the things that they shouldn't do. You know, I saw people smoke weed, smoke cigarettes. You get it, were into women and all those things. But where I am coming from, I could not afford that kind of lifestyle because the price of that lifestyle was too much. I couldn't pay. So that was it. And then also in Presec, I got into a company of good people, and that's what you need to know.
Yeah.
You need to choose your associations very carefully, because as iron sharpeneth iron, so does a man the countenance of his friend. And one Presec guy just got up and spoke some big English. He said, natural aeroplanes of adjacent plumage congregate within the same proximity. You know what he was trying to say? Birds of the same feathers flock together. You know, out of Presec people, they like big English. You know, so natural aeroplanes of adjacent plumage congregate within the same proximity. I mean, so deep calleth unto deep. I needed to choose my friends very carefully. And so in Presec, I made a decision that this type of friendships I'm not going to go into. You know, there were people who would have wanted my friendship in bad ways, but you wouldn't get me there. I just walked away. Yes, we are fine, we're not quarreling, we're not fighting, but I am not your friend. And I will not apologize for not being friends with some people. So associations are very, very important at that particular time. Yeah. And so, yes, the conditions are different, but the principles
still the same.
Are still the same. So I walked into school with principles. So wherever I am right now, I mean, there are changing scenes of life. There are things, the principles are what is my bedrock. And so those principles are still the things that hold me. So the world is changing. Everything is changing. And whether I like it or not, I mean, everything is changing. But the principles that the Christocentric principles, yeah, even though I was not into SU or any other thing, those Christocentric principles are still part of me. So, yeah, maybe I may change in terms of knowledge. I'll know how to use social media. I'll know how to get it, maximize social media to my advantage. I would also know how to debate better, you know, and I might probably try hard and be a national science and maths quiz candidate, but I'm not too sure I will make Presec win. Because they're much more sharper people. Yeah. I mean, so, yeah, there are things I would have done. I was a good footballer. Yeah, I used to play central defense. I was a number 5 in my primary school, and I played a couple of Colts this time. But I threw playing football away because my dad was insisting on my books. Yeah. And in retrospect, maybe if I had played football, and I played with some top. They went on to play for Black Stars. Wow. Yes, I played football with them. Wow. And when we were in Colts in our earlier years. But then my dad didn't want to me to continue in that trajectory because he thought, so maybe I might have seen that kind of monies they make now. That's no small crowd. Anyway, I mean, that's what it is. So.
Okay, so speaking of conditions, sometimes when you speak to those who have completed the schools, Presec to be precise, they speak of very harsh conditions during their times. And some of them, I personally feel I wouldn't have been able to survive during that time. Oh, yeah. They speak of traveling long distances to fetch water. Did you go through all of those things?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I got to Form 1, I mean, I met people who were like Moko Papa. When I say Moko Papa, somebody's father. People were bearded with hair on their chest. Some people hair on their bodies like orangutans, you know. I mean, and big guys. And the level of bullying
Wow.
You have no idea. I mean, harsh conditions. Sometimes when there's no water, you have to go and fetch water for the seniors. And then weeding. Man, I mean, an 11-and-a-half-year-old boy thrown into Presec. I started weeding and my hand had blisters.
Wow.
And all those other things. I mean, seniors will beat you. Somebody will see you. You've not done anything to the person. You are just passing by, hey, come here. Then just give you a knock and then he walks away. And you can't. And the conditions were very harsh, you know. Scrubbing the doma. I don't know why we still call it doma.
Yeah, we still call it doma.
Yeah, I'm very good at it. Yeah, I mean, cleaning our flower gardens. Every Form 1 boy had his own flower garden. They shared behind the dormitories were flower gardens. Everybody, every Form 1 boy had his flower garden. And every evening you have to water, dig it up. A senior comes and takes a stick and then throws the stick longitudinally into the soil, and it has to sink a particular degree, if not. And then, you know, the Presec grass, I don't know whether I said that, we used to call them stubborn grass. When you apply the cutlass, it will bend as if it has obeyed you. Back. And when you move, then you see that it is standing with this, it's like, I don't want to die. So, yeah, there were quite harsh conditions. But in a way, I think too, that because of our numerical volume that we had, at that time the school was about 800, the school was about 800 people. That was our maximum. So all the dormitories had space, and we had only 6 houses, you know. So for school of 800, I think that our food, the red was. Do you still do red?
Yeah, we still do red.
Yeah, the plantain, you know, they are soft and succulent. Well, just one. They give you just one or something.
Oh no, they give us
a lot. Plantain. And the beans, you know, red with the oil floating on it, like the Sea of Galilee.
Was that your favorite?
Of course, everybody's favorite was red. I mean, actually, when they are eating, when we're doing the red, and I mean, I remember one time a senior just came and said, I'd done something in the dormitory. I didn't really do that. So he sees my red, and he went and balanced my red. I cried like a baby. Because, I mean, the red, and there were other foods like Tom Brown, you know, and the rice and beans on Sunday evenings. I don't know whether you still do it.
No.
Oh, man.
Now either we do the rice alone or the beans alone.
No. Oh, we used to do the rice and beans on Sunday evenings when we sing the evening song. I don't know whether it's the be present at the table, Lord. You don't do it anymore. Mabon. Then what are you? You're not enjoying Presec crowd. On Sunday night when we're about to eat and then they raise the song, Charlie, I mean, you see the bass, the alto, the treble, the tenor, and then, of course, those whose voices are not on the piano keyboard. Yeah, so maybe we might have had better conditions. But right now, when I look at your volumes, it might be a little bit, And in those days, so when it is cake and fish, when you see the fish is very proud on your plate. You can see proud fish on your table. But right now, I don't know whether you guys, I don't know, but maybe you guys are feasting on Keta schoolboys or something.
Yeah, we have small fishes. Small with a kinky.
Ah, man. But the last time I realized that you guys were eating with sardine.
Yes. It's either sardine or fish.
Hey. Now, well, we are not taking sardine. Anyway, we're taking corned beef in the stew.
You're taking corned beef in the stew?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the way that, you know, it's like the amount of corned beef in it that has to be shared, the amount of corned beef that needs to be shared, It was very, very interesting. But we enjoyed it. You see the lumps of corned beef in the stew, then people have to break it. The person serving. Yeah, and we had bread with jam, or bread with butter, or bread with groundnut paste. What do you guys do, Sakura?
Bread with bread.
Yeah, so we had all those things, you know. There's bread with jam, and bread with butter, bread with groundnut paste. Tom Brown would do you guys do ekwegbe?
No.
The grits?
No.
You don't do grits? Do you do oblayo rocks?
No.
What? So what do you do? You do cocoa?
Cocoa, Tom Brown, rice water.
Yeah, rice water. No, we are not taking tea. What tea? You drink the water, then you go to the bathroom. The thing is gone. And then your stomach will be crying, I'm here. Even though you have not said, Jack, where are you? No, we didn't do that. If we are drinking tea, it is an additional. And our breads were quite big, yeah. I mean, they were righteous.
Did you have El Clasico? Or that wasn't during?
What's El Clasico?
That's Wachi.
Yeah, we had Wachi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's called El Clasico.
It's called El Clasico?
Yes.
We had Wachi, and we had rice, we had plantain, we had yams. And some of the yams, too, were very stubborn. You know, when you're cutting with a knife, it will even jump out of your plate. Yeah, but we had plantain, boiled plantain, fried plantain, kenke, rice, wache, and even on certain special occasions, rice jollof.
We have that on Sundays these days.
In the evening?
Yes, in the evening.
Hey, Charlie, then you guys, I mean, you have 1 mile ahead of us then. Jollof, it is when we're having ceremonies. When they are doing speech and pride giving day, then they will bring you jollof, and then with some powerful beef on it. But that's all. I mean, they were very tasty. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of leadership positions in school, did you take up any leadership position of any sort when you were in school?
Interestingly, I shied away from leadership positions. Remember that in Form 1 to 5, I never vied for any, not even class prefect. When I went to 6th Form, I was approached by the school authorities to be the head boy. But I declined because I didn't want that hassle. Even though they said at that time that I had a commanding presence. So sometimes when people are doing the wrong thing and I've not spoken and I just approach, they stop.
Yes.
And people, so yes, I was made a prefect, and in the final analysis, it was as if I was ruling the whole school in front, including the teachers, and I had that kind of favor. For example, it was time for assembly, and all I need to do is just go and stand by the administration, and everybody will start running. I don't say anything. I mean, I don't say anything. And I'll get to the dining hall, and when I stand in front of the dining hall, everybody's rushing to the dining hall. I'll come to the classrooms, and the whole block will get quiet. And sometimes, even when I'm called to administration to go and see some of the teachers, if I go to the staff common room, some of the teachers were very nice to me. They would greet me. And I was headmaster's favorite. I could go and ask him for anything. And I remember there was one time there was going to be a riot, and some prefects
in the school.
In the school, not in Presec anyway, but in my 6th form, Laboni. And the prefects, most of them had run away. The teachers too were also running away from the campus. And I came home. I'd gone home on an exit. Came, and I was told what the situation was. So the senior housemaster calls me, and then I said to him, all right, I'm going to go with you from dormitory to dormitory.
Wow.
I'm going to rally everybody to the assembly hall. We're going to talk to them. And I asked him, what is their problem? He said, their food. I said, okay, so you let's go. So they were about throwing stones at them. But when I got there, when I started walking with him, they started saying, oh, Senior Makwe, you know. And then I ordered everybody to the assembly hall. Oh. And from there, I told him we're going to the dining hall. You are going to sit and eat the food we are eating with us.
Wow.
So that you will know what you are eating. So you understand the student challenge. And so he went, and the headmaster also. We sat down, we ate. And then they looked at the food and they said, no. So that evening, they gave us some wow food. I mean, and everything. So yeah, leadership, my natural inclination is to run away from leadership. But then
you ended up.
It's something I don't.
Okay, this has been a very insightful meeting with you.
Did I tell about how I made the Presec?
How
I think you are about to wrapping up, eh?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
For example, the Odadee presidency. Yeah, I didn't ask for it.
Was conferred on you.
I had traveled when a classmate of mine called Boat calls me. I was in the States of Britain, and then he said, "Oh, their presidency has become vacant. The seat of the presidency has become vacant, and we're thinking of our year group 1978. So one of us must go." So I started reeling off names from the top of my head: Frank Edu, James Boateng, who was then at Cadbury, Frank Edu, who was at Cal Bank, Professor Nite, who was at Kolebu. He was the director for anesthesia. And then I read off quite a number of names. He didn't say anything. And then just at the end of the conversation, he said, "What about you?" I said, no, forget it. I don't want it. But I landed from the airport, and when I came, my house captain, when I was in upper 6, I was in Form 1. I was this little boy. He was there, he was sitting here, and he wanted to, he told me, "Well, we've chosen you as the president." And I said, he must be joking. But then so reluctantly, I am still a reluctant leader. I don't like it. It's difficult for people to understand, believe, but it is a truth. Because leadership means responsibility.
We've come to the end of today's episode with Dr. Reverend Makwe. It has been a very insightful episode. We've learned a lot. And today's episode was made possible by Smart Capture, doing everything for us, Odadee Radio, all of these things being a contribution to this very success. And of course, our headmaster, board chairman, board of governors, by virtue of them, we've been able to make this a success. We have Skyper here, Odija, our protocol prefect, Bafo, all of these guys, Habada Bright, and all of these guys making this possible. We've come a long way with our DJ, and he has helped us in every single way. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, one last person, Sir Benny man, he has helped us very much. Thank you very much for tuning in. Surviving Presec.